A generation that today takes pride in what once caused shame, that confuses true freedom with vulgarity, and that calls rot expression. We are living in an era where the ridiculous has been elevated to the level of art, where limitless exposure has become a status symbol, and where shame, the feeling that was once essential to human dignity, has been transformed into a kind of inverted virtue or even a nuisance that everyone wants to avoid. This reality is no accident. It is the reflection of a society that has lost its way, that has normalized the absurd, and that, in its desperate quest to be seen and accepted, ended up forgetting what really matters. This video is not made to please you or make you feel good about yourself. This video is a wake-up call, an urgent shake to rouse you before the world around you sinks even deeper into superficiality and emptiness. While you laugh or consume the next viral content, society slowly sinks into mediocrity, and sadly, almost no one seems to care about the consequences. We live in a time when what once caused shame, discomfort, or rejection is now a reason for celebration, applause, and massive viral spread. What was once considered excess, vulgarity, or immorality now carries a fancy name: expression. A word that sounds modern, inclusive, even rebellious, but functions as a shield to justify any kind of moral or ethical decay. Want to show yourself naked, empty, and without a real message? That's expression. Want to post any craziness without thinking about the impact or responsibility? That's authenticity. Want to live in emotional and physical promiscuity without limits? That's freedom. Thus, borders have been erased and values that once helped build strong and respectful communities have been blurred. Everything is permitted, nothing is questioned, and any attempt to set limits is seen as oppression or censorship. People today no longer truly think. They only repeat what others say, without analysis or reflection. They don't feel. They simply imitate pre-packaged emotions. This is a generation running on autopilot, copying ready-made phrases, poses, prepared indignations, and passing fads. But behind that aesthetic facade and that apparently deep discourse hides a great emotional emptiness, an oversized ego, and a desperate need for validation. Social media, far from being tools for genuine connection, have become stages for emotional self-promotion, where the more grotesque and extreme the content, the more viral it becomes. The rule seems clear: the more absurd, the more applause and attention. If you cry in public, expose your intimacy, and become a meme, congratulations, you've earned a place in the new digital era. If you show your body, say anything without a filter, and scream for attention, they call you free and empowered. But what has disappeared amid all this? Shame. Yes, that uncomfortable feeling that told us we were crossing a line, that something was wrong in what we were doing. Today, shame is seen as a burden, a weakness, something to be eliminated to be truly free. But it was precisely shame that protected our dignity. It was shame that prevented humans from becoming grotesque and senseless spectacles. Now, that spectacle is the goal. Collective conscience has been buried under tons of superficiality. Moderation has been ridiculed, and in its place has arisen the pride of decadence. Have you noticed how no one wants to be dignified anymore? Now everyone wants to be seen, desired, envied, and shared, regardless of moral or personal cost. Integrity has become a rare, almost forgotten value. Even the most intimate emotions are transformed into performances for social media. People cry, scream, and show their existential crises in front of a camera, not to heal, but to gain likes and views. Suffering, once something private and sacred, is now just another piece of content, a commodity. Nothing is sacred. Everything is exploitable. The distracted mind is entertainment. Pain is money. And the most disturbing thing is that those who still try to keep a minimum of common sense are attacked and marginalized. Those who protect their privacy are judged. Those who seek to live decently are labeled retrograde and outdated. They call you outdated simply because you don't sell yourself, because you have values, because you prefer silence over shouting for attention. The world has turned upside down. What was once a mistake is now right, and what is right becomes a reason for ridicule. We are witnessing the triumph of trivialization, where the only thing that matters is not to seem invisible, but the price we pay is very high. Because when everything is allowed, everything loses value. Image loses value. Words lose value. Intimacy loses value. Life loses value. And what remains is an empty spectacle, a stage where everyone acts, but no one truly lives. This is the new normal, a normality where absurdity is routine and shame is a relic of the past, a museum piece. Distraction is the narcotic that dulls our consciences. We have never been so connected, and at the same time, so lost. The current generation was born with their finger glued to the screen, grew up programmed by constant stimuli, sounds, lights, 15-second videos, and instant rewards. They tap notifications, breathe likes, sleep with autoplay videos in the background. It is a generation that no longer knows how to be alone, that panics when silence reigns, that needs to keep busy all the time to avoid hearing their own minds. But let's be clear, this alienation didn't start today. Previous generations were lost too, though their distractions came from other vices. Endless television, social appearances, mechanical routines. The difference is that before, it wasn't filmed or viralized. Many parents and grandparents made their mistakes in silence. They lived fleeing themselves, anesthetized by social patterns, dogmas, soap operas, and drinks. But now, that error has become public content. Emptiness is displayed, liked, and applauded. The shame that was once hidden now dances on TikTok and other platforms. And the worst is that older generations are not immune. They have also been contaminated. How many adults today spend more time on social media than their own children? How many become commentators of everything without understanding anything? How many drown in distractions and short videos, saying they have no time for anything deeper? The shameless generation is no longer just young. It has become a collective mindset, a culture of infinite entertainment, distraction as anesthesia, and noise as refuge. We face an attention collapse. The modern mind cannot handle depth. It gets tired reading a complex paragraph. It freaks out trying to stay silent for 10 minutes. Because addiction to distraction is real, invisible, socially accepted, promoted by platforms, and reinforced relentlessly. And the most dangerous part, it doesn't destroy visibly. It doesn't break you all at once. It corrupts you slowly inside until one day you wake up unable to focus on anything. Everything seems boring, hard, and too long. Distraction has become a drug. It fills time, but empties the soul. You can laugh and have fun, but then comes that weight, that emptiness, that feeling of falling behind without knowing what you lost. This affects not only young people. The disease is everywhere, adults and elders too. The current generation is only the most visible mirror, but the sickness has long been widespread. Today, distraction is everywhere, in your hand, in your pocket, in the pockets of children and parents. It's a family addiction, inherited and reinforced, though few dare admit it. Admitting it means recognizing that maybe you're a slave who believes they're free, prisoner of a screen, addicted to stimuli, unable to think clearly, to be present, to simply exist. An entire generation distracted until it disappears from itself. I know how it is. I have been in that swamp. I lost years of my life submerged in that digital trash, anesthetized, surrounded by noise, running away from myself. We all make mistakes. Humans are fallible. That is a fact. But there is only honor where there is awareness. Only those who recognize their mistakes and decide to grow from them are worthy. Now, those who see the error, feel the weight, but choose to continue anyway, are not just fallible, they are shameless. If you want to keep sleeping, that's your problem. But don't say later that no one tried to wake you up. Maybe you thought I was exaggerating. But now, with all that I've said, I invite you to sincerely look at your own life. How many hours a day do you waste distracting yourself with things that add nothing to you? How many times have you posted something just to get attention, to feed your ego, to feel included? How many times have you felt shame but ignored it so you wouldn't seem different? It's time to face the truth. You don't have to be just another. You don't have to keep drowning in that swamp of distraction, vulgarity, and artificial approval. Because in the end, the price of going with the flow is losing your own identity. Yes, there is still time, but only for those who have courage. Courage to swim against the current, to leave the stage, to live with integrity in a world where everyone sells themselves cheap. Start. Silence your notifications for a day. Delete the apps that consume your mind the most. Close your eyes for 5 minutes and listen to the noise inside your head. That is what you've ignored and precisely what needs healing. Step off the stage. Step out of the game. Stay silent for a while. Face the void. Because it is in silence that consciousness awakens. It is in the absence of applause that you discover who you really are. Speak less. Expose less. Judge others less. And judge yourself more. You don't need to show off to prove you exist, nor degrade yourself to seem modern. Protect your shame. Yes, your shame, because it's what separates you from complete alienation. Feeling shame for what is wrong is the first sign your mind is still alive. Don't live as a background character in your own story. Don't give your mind to likes or cheap things. Don't give your soul to passing fads. True rebellion begins in the invisible, in self-control, in silence, in stepping back. The world won't applaud you, but your conscience will. And if you've made it this far, know that you are rare. Because while millions distract themselves until they disappear, you chose to think, chose to watch this video. And that, in a world like ours, is already an act of resistance. Zygmunt Bauman warned us, true freedom only exists when it comes with responsibility. Without it, what remains is just chaos, disguised as freedom, but full of shame. If you want to be part of this resistance, if you want to wake up and live with more awareness, subscribe to this channel. Here we don't seek to please. We seek to transform. Don't let them steal your dignity. Join us because together we can be stronger.